Before 1941, the United States was a nation still reeling from the Great Depression. It's deeply committed to staying out of the world's conflicts. We were an industrial power, sure, but a reluctant one on the global stage. Many Americans simply wanted to be left alone. But on December 7, 1941, everything changed. The attack on Pearl Harbor didn't just pull America into the largest war in human history. It set in motion a series of transformations that would redefine the country and its place in the world forever. This is the story of how World War II forged the American superpower. Let's rewind to the 1930s. The American military was surprisingly small. Smaller than Portugal's at one point. The economy was shattered. Millions were unemployed. The prevailing mood was isolationism, a powerful desire to avoid Europe's seemingly endless squabbles. President Franklin D. Roosevelt saw the growing storm clouds across the oceans, with the rise of aggressive regimes in Germany, Italy, and Japan. He knew that staying out might not be an option, but the American public was not convinced. He had to walk a fine line, slowly preparing the nation for a conflict it desperately wanted to avoid. Then came Pearl Harbor. Shock and outrage were immense. In a single day, the debate over isolationism was over. America was at war. What happened next was nothing short of an industrial miracle. The nation's factories, which had been quiet for a decade, roared back to life. It was a total mobilization of the American economy. Car manufacturers like Ford stopped making civilian cars and started churning out B-2 for Liberator bombers. Henry Ford's Willow Run plant, a mile-long factory, was producing a bomber nearly every hour at its peak. It was an astonishing feat of engineering and logistics. Shipyards, once dormant, were now building ships faster than the enemy could sink them. Henry Kaiser, a construction magnate with no shipbuilding experience, revolutionized the industry. His shipyards used prefabrication and assembly line techniques. A standard cargo vessel, called a Liberty ship, which used to take months to build, was now being completed in a matter of weeks, and in one famous case, in under 5 days. These ships became the lifeline of the Allied war effort, carrying troops, tanks, and supplies across the Atlantic and Pacific. America wasn't just a participant in the war. It became its arsenal of democracy, just as Roosevelt had envisioned. This industrial boom pulled America out of the Great Depression for good. Unemployment, which had been cripplingly high, virtually disappeared. In fact, there was a labor shortage, and this opened up opportunities for people who had been left on the sidelines of the American economy. Over 6 million women entered the workforce, many for the first time. They became welders, riveters, and electricians. Taking on jobs previously considered men's work, the iconic image of Rosie the Riveter captured this spirit of a nation where everyone pitched in. These women proved they could do the job and do it well, forever changing the perception of women's roles in society. The war also triggered one of the largest internal migrations in American history. People flocked from rural areas to industrial centers on the West Coast, the Midwest, and the South for defense jobs. This reshaped the demographic map of the country. African Americans, in what's known as the Second Great Migration, moved north and west in huge numbers, seeking economic opportunity and escaping the Jim Crow South. While they still faced discrimination and segregation in their new homes and in the military, their contributions were vital. The famed Tuskegee Airmen, a squadron of African American pilots, shattered stereotypes with their skill and bravery. Escorting bombers over Europe and proving that courage has no color, their fight for victory abroad fueled their fight for equality at home, laying crucial groundwork for the civil rights movement that would follow. While the home front was transforming, American GIs were fighting across the globe. From the beaches of Normandy to the islands of the Pacific, over 16 million Americans served in the armed forces. They were farm boys, city kids, factory workers, an entire generation called to service. They experienced the horrors of combat, the camaraderie of their units, and the strangeness of foreign lands. For many, it was their first time leaving their hometown, let alone the country. This global experience broadened their horizons and gave them a new perspective on the world and America's role in it. When the war finally ended in 1945, the world was in ruins. The old powers of Europe, Britain, France, Germany, were devastated, their economies shattered, and their empires crumbling. The United States, by contrast, emerged from the war stronger than ever before. Its cities and factories were untouched by bombs. Its economy was the most powerful in the world, producing nearly half of the world's manufactured goods. It held a monopoly on the most terrifying new weapon ever created, the atomic bomb. There were only two true global powers left standing, the United States and the Soviet Union. The stage was set for a new kind of conflict, the Cold War. Unlike after World War I, America did not retreat back into isolationism. The leaders who had guided the nation through the war understood that peace and prosperity at home were now inextricably linked to stability abroad. They embraced a new role of global leadership. To rebuild the shattered economies of Europe and prevent the spread of communism, the U.S. launched the Marshall Plan. This unprecedented act of foreign aid poured billions of dollars into Western Europe, helping to rebuild cities, restore industries, and feed populations. It was a move of both generosity and strategic genius, creating strong allies and robust trading partners for the decades to come. The war also left a lasting legacy at home. The GI Bill, officially the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, was one of the most transformative pieces of legislation in American history. It provided returning veterans with funds for college education, unemployment insurance, and housing loans. Millions of veterans who might never have had the chance went to college, fueling a boom in higher education and creating a more skilled workforce. They bought homes in newly developed suburbs, creating the modern American middle class and driving the post-war economic boom. The America of sprawling suburbs, interstate highways, university-educated professionals was born directly from this single act. So, when you look at the United States today, its global military presence, its economic influence, its role in international institutions like the United Nations and NATO, it all traces back to this pivotal moment. World War II was the crucible in which the American superpower was forged. It was a transformation born of crisis, built by the unprecedented mobilization of its people and industry, and sealed by the new reality of a post-war world. It was the moment America stepped onto the world stage and never looked back. The legacy of that generation, their sacrifice, and their innovation continues to shape our world in countless ways. Thanks for watching. If you found this story of America's transformation fascinating, be sure to hit that like button. And subscribe for more deep dives into the moments that shaped our history. See you next time.